Hi there, Kinder Kids. Last story, you learned 3 ways that you could help conserve natural resources. Yes, reduce, reuse, and recycle. The word reduce in this phrase is to remind you to try to use less or fewer things that come from natural resources. The word reuse in this phrase is to remind you to use things over and over again. And the word recycle means to put something into a recycling container instead of a trash can so that it can be used to make something new. Once something is recycled, there is a process or a series of steps that take place to turn the used material into something new. The first step is for us to put the recyclables aside and save them in a special container instead of putting them into a trash can. Today, you will be able to explain the process of recycling materials. Let's go over a vocabulary first. Our vocabulary word is solution. A solution is an answer to the problem. For example, once you have a solution to the math problem, write your answer on your paper. Today, you will learn about the different steps that take place when something is recycled. Our story is called Recycle, Recycle, Recycle. Let's get started. I asked an artist to make a picture with these green recycling arrows on top of me. I hope this will help you remember that recycling is very healthy for good old Earth. Recycling is so important that I've come back to tell you even more about it, just to make sure that you understand how much good you are doing when you recycle something. The very first step in the recycling process is, instead of throwing recyclable materials away in an ordinary trash can, you must put these things aside and save them in another container, like a recycling bin. Once you have saved a lot of things to be recycled, they need to be brought to a place called a recycling center. Sometimes people bring their own recyclables directly to the recycling center. In this picture, you can see a place with several large bins of different colors. People can bring all of their recyclable materials here, but everything has to go in the right place. Glass goes in one bin, cans in another, paper in another, and so on. In some places, though, people do not have to go to the recycling center themselves. Instead, they can set out their recycling bins by the side of the road, just like they set out their garbage cans. And a special recycling truck comes by to empty the bins and take the recyclables to the recycling plant. Now, some cities and towns even have single stream recycling, which lets you put all your recyclables into one large container and it gets sorted at the recycling center. I don't know about you, but I think recycling is very interesting. Here's a colorful picture of recycling. Can you guess what's being recycled in this picture? This is a picture of plastic bottle tops. All of these bottle tops were collected at a recycling center. Then they were taken to a plastics recycling factory where they were pressed together in a big, colorful mishmash. Later, these bottle tops will be melted down into a liquid so that they can be remolded and turned into something new made of plastic. Look around your classroom or your living room today, right now, and see if you can spot anything made of plastic. I bet you can. Maybe it's even made from recycled plastic, or maybe it's something you can recycle when you're done using it so it can be made into something else. What's in this picture? Here are some cans made out of a metal called aluminum. Maybe you have had drinks that come in cans like these. If you throw a can away into a trash can and send it off to a landfill, it will take at least 500 years for that aluminum can to break down and decompose. But if you put the same can in a recycling bin instead, the aluminum metal can be reused and the cans don't have to be buried in a landfill. Let's take a closer look at how cans are recycled. This diagram or drawing shows what happens when you can recycle an aluminum can. Aluminum is a natural resource that is mined and dug out of the earth. From there, it goes to a factory where the raw aluminum is made into metal cans that can be filled with things such as soda. After you buy a can of soda and drink it, you are left with an old, used can. You can throw the can in the garbage, but then it will end up in a landfill. A better, more responsible solution is to put the empty can into a recycling bin. These cans have already been sorted and cleaned at a recycling center and are now at a special recycling factory for aluminum. So plastic things go to a plastics recycling factory and aluminum cans go to an aluminum recycling factory. Workers at the recycling factory crush the cans and melt them down in a big cooker with lots of other cans. Maybe they'll make a new can and the cycle will begin all over again. The can gets filled with something to eat or drink. Someone uses the can and puts it in a recycling bin. The can is brought to a recycling center and finally a factory, and so on again and again. What are these bottles made of? These bottles are made of glass. If you toss bottles like these in the trash, they would be hauled away to a landfill. Some kinds of glass take about 3,000 years to decompose. That's a long time. Luckily, many glass items can be recycled instead. At the glass recycling factory, the glass is crushed into tiny little pieces. Crushed glass is then put into a very hot furnace and melted into a super hot, glowing liquid. With enough heat, glass melts just like ice melts. Here is a little piece of glass that has been heated up so much that it is just about to melt and turn to liquid. Now imagine a big pot full of little bits of glass like this, all eventually melting together into a thick, hot, syrupy liquid. That's what you would find at a glass recycling factory. This picture shows the inside of a bottle making factory. These are freshly made bottles. They are so hot you dare not to touch them, but they'll be cool and hardened soon. Recycling really isn't hard to do, but I'll admit that it does require a little bit of extra work. Taking the time to decide whether to throw something away in the garbage can or whether to put it in the recycling bin doesn't always make it to the top of the to-do list. But it really is worth the time to take care of good old Earth. Be sure to ask yourself the next time you use a bottle, a can, or anything else, is this recyclable? Can I conserve natural resources by making it into something useful again? The end. What is the main topic or main idea of today's story? What is recycling? What happens to the things you take to a recycling center? Name some things that you can recycle. In your journal, write and draw about if it's important to recycle. Have these discussions with your family.